Hello, my name is Mike Hodgson. I'm the CEO of Serabi Gold. I've been with Serabi now for approximately 18 years. I'm a geologist by qualification, though I probably specialised in small underground mining operations and management of corporate management of for the last sort of 15 years, and before that, operational management of smaller underground mines. So I'd like to call myself a sort of a small underground mining expert rather than a geologist, but obviously geology and underground mining is my thing. I think underground mining chose me rather than me choosing it. I've tended to be sort of a real specialist in this. I started life uh, as a graduated in geology, then did mining geology and economics, Leicester University. Like many Brit, headed off to Africa for about 6 years, worked in the Zambia copper mines and really learnt the business, underground mining there. Did a little bit of exploration on uranium. Came back, worked with RTZ for a number of years in the UK and in Portugal, and then I started working for South Crofty Tin Mine, which was part of RTZ back then. And then, so I went from one of the biggest mining companies in the world to one of the smallest mining companies in the world. But that was a great place to work. Small underground company with a small workforce, a great workforce, very dedicated, and I really learnt underground selective mining there with probably some of the industry's best people. And even to this day, those guys are still my mentors, probably in their 70s, a lot of them, but they are still generally accepted as being industry experts in underground mining, and we still all bump into each other periodically, and that was that. From there, I left. I did a bit of work in the Philippines, Russia. I sort of a bit freelance for a couple of years, and then I ended up working with Ike Batista's TVX in Greece, and one of my mentors took me there. And again, that was the two big gold projects over in Greece, which were trying to be permitted, plus an underground mine which was in a bit of a mess, which we turned around. Probably one of my greatest achievements was to take a company that was producing something like a pitiful 250 tons per day at about 3% zinc to 1,500 tons per day at about 10% zinc in a 2-year period. And that was a series that was mechanization and essentially changing the mindset of the workforce, which in a country like Greece wasn't an easy task. From there, headed off to South America, where my South America journey began. I already knew some Spanish, so I went to work in Bolivia for Havana Minerals as the COO. That was a very different job, superb underground gold mine with a great workforce, very well done. And that, in a sense, took me to Serabi. And Serabi was a target company for that company I was working for in Bolivia at the time. And that didn't come off, but I did get introduced to Serabi, and that's how I ended up with Serabi Gold. And I've been there ever since, and certainly enjoyed my time there. Complicated ore bodies like vein mining and underground mining are, I think, that understanding of geology is that these types of mines have to be there's got to be a lot of geological thinking in it. You can't just, I don't want to sort of criticize mining engineers, because I've also got a mining engineering master's. So, I'm both. I'm a bit of a sort of a geologist and a mining engineer. But you can't just put straight lines around sort of the complexity of narrow vein underground mining. You've got to have geological control. So I think the company and certainly the geologists at our mines certainly enjoy the fact that I'm a geologist, which means they get a lot of airplay. Otherwise, they might get sort of browbeaten a little bit by mining engineers all the time. So a good understanding of geological modeling, it's critical to be successful. And there has been a history, particularly in Brazil, of engineers just sort of ignoring geology, and a lot of failures in Brazil because of that reason. Building process plants and building mines is easy. Understanding the geology is the hard part. If you don't get the geological model right, you're wasting your time. So we put a lot of emphasis on that. And I give the geologists a lot of airtime and a lot of prominence in all of our decision making. And me being a geologist, I say, has actually been, it. And I think we're a success as a result. We have a lot of geological thinking in all of our planning, our day-to-day planning. I mean, someone said to me the other day, which is astonishing, Brazil has only 31 underground mines in the entire country, which is an astonishing statistic considering the size of the country, the resources it has. Now, the reason for that are many. A lot of they aren't good reasons. difficulty, labour laws which are onerous. Brazil is a country full of open pits, easy surface mining, non-skilled mining, economies of scale, all of these things. But as these deposits get more and more depleted, and as metal prices go up, particularly gold, and the desire to and the need to go underground to actually continue to fund the market, find gold for the market, it's difficult. And investors don't understand, banks don't understand. Oh well, what's the problem? It's easy. Gold price is $3,000 an ounce. Why don't you go and get it? It's very difficult, particularly all over the world, but particularly in a country like Brazil, where you just have not got a culture of underground mining. So we've actually had to work very hard on building a team. We brought in originally a Peruvian mining contractor to help us to get underground. As I talked about in my history, I worked in South America, in Bolivia before, where I did work with a Peruvian contractor. I knew some people. I brought over a few key people to help us start the team, let's say, and then from that, we've actually done a combination of literally hoovering up every underground selective miner we can find in Brazil and doing an awful lot of training on the job. We've actually had to take people from the fields, literally, or timber guys in the Amazon, and train them with schools, mining schools, our mining schools, and bring them up to speed and do that. And as we get better, we pair them off with a lesser guy, less trained guy, and slowly we train them up through that way. There is not a conveyor of mining people available like there might be in other countries, such as maybe in Peru or in South Africa or the Philippines, a place where you actually have more of an underground mining culture. So it's training from within. In terms of the technical people, the managers, again, it's the same problem. We are essentially trying to find people from other areas. I mean, we are in the Amazon. We pay a premium to have people working in a remote location. But another good thing for us is, I think, it's not for everybody, but we work a 2010 roster, and a lot of people don't go home at night. It's a camp. So a lot of people work 20 days. Everyone works 20 days in, 10 days out. And that kind of work rotation goes down well. A lot of people like to have 20 days. They are working, then they go home for 10 days and have 10 days at home. So it gives them great family time and it gives them work time. And you don't have this inefficiency of the day job. So I think it's worked very well. And as I said, it's not easy. I mean, it's to keep finding people and bringing them on. And it doesn't always work, but we've got a very, very dedicated team of people, very loyal. I think our turnover is about 4% per year. It's really small. So we really keep our people. They love working for us. We pay them well. We treat them well. They get great services at the camp. Happy camp. Well, that's been a huge plus for us with Coringa. We've been in at Palito now for 22 years, 23 years. Our founder, Bill Clough, founded Palito in 2002. Went there and built a mine in the middle of absolutely nowhere, put in a power line, which is an amazing feat. And that's been the bedrock of actually being able to produce at Palito. And it's been a long life asset, produced over 500,000 ounces of gold now, more or less, since its beginning. And we've still got our 500,000 ounces of gold reserves, resources, let's say there. So long-lived asset. Because we went to a region where there was no other Western company, no other hard rock miner, only artisanal mines. We've become very well respected. I think we very much, the government authorities, the local people, all the stakeholders, we're here to stay. We're not a here today, gone tomorrow junior that's just trying to make a fast buck. We've committed to the region, and we've actually, and in parts of the world like this, we definitely become, you almost become a replacement to the municipality in terms of what you do for the local people. There is an obligation on mining companies in these places to actually help out with education, schooling, public services, and all these sort of things. So, of course, when we came to actually acquire Coringa, I think there was a huge amount of relief. There's Serabi investing again in a neighbouring asset in the same vicinity. So we'd already won the hearts and minds of the local people. The local mayors of all the local municipalities were delighted that we were actually expanding and committing to the region. It's not just a case of, one thing I learned when I first came to Brazil years ago was it's not just a country, it's 26 states. And there's competition amongst those states. They're all different countries within a federation, and they want Serabi to stay local. They want Serabi. So we don't see a reason to leave the state of Pará. We don't actually see a reason to leave the region of the Tapajós in the state of Pará. So we've actually focused on maintaining our efforts locally because we want to leverage off those relationships we've built. So of course, the permitting of Coringa, okay, it's a bit onerous. We've actually had our challenges. We've had to do ECIs and all those things. But the one thing that we've got is the people are with us. Absolutely. And if you've got the people with you, the authorities are a little bit limited to what they can do. If you've got the people against you, you're screwed. I mean, I worked in Greece with Ike Batista, for TVX, and we didn't have the people with us day one. So we were never going to succeed. And those assets are still 30 years on, barely being built. So for me, what I've learned in my life is, if you get the local people with you, you're 2/3 the way there. Well, that's changed a lot. We are now we are gold mining in the Amazon is now very much an ethical brand. You've got to be gone are the days where you could just like take tailings from artisanal mines and get gold from anywhere and just produce gold. Now you've got to there's got to be an audit trail of where everything's coming from. So yes, I mean we are whiter than white when it comes to that. Lots of people have come to me and said, well, why can't you treat this or treat that and whatever and take this? No, we have everything's very much audited, and we are an underground mining operation. We don't cut down a tree. We plant more trees. If we do actually have to do any deforestation or very small cutting down on some trees, we can't touch primary forest at all. Never would, don't need to. But because we're underground, we have a tiny footprint. We don't disturb the surface at all. And where we do have tailings, we've got very small tailings facilities. We are actually blessed in the sense at Palito, where Palito was an old artisanal mine. So there is a lot of artisanal tailings and debris left there. And we have actually cut a deal with the environmental agency to take our tailings, which are detoxed, they're non-toxic tailings. And after we process our ore, the tailings we produce, once they're dried, we actually blind over these historical liability areas and actually then put soil over the top, rock fill, and revegetate. So we're actually remediating not just our mess, but the mess of the artisans before us, which delights the environmental agency completely. So in fact, we're positively contributing to the environment in that sense. Coringa, of course, is an underground satellite mine, which is now going into production. We haven't even got a process plant there. We're simply taking the ore out of the ground, we're crushing it on surface, we're passing it through this very clever piece of kit, which we've talked about many times, called an ore sorter, which physically concentrates the ore and removes the waste. We transported this pre-concentrated product to Palito plant, where we've processed it and produced the gold. So Coringa has an even smaller footprint, and therefore is great news in that sense. Well, the great thing about Serabi now has been with this increasing gold production and the margin that we're getting. Well, first of all, Coringa coming in has allowed us to move from being a company that was plateaued at 40,000 ounces and allows us to grow to 60, 70,000 ounces. And we're on that journey right now. This year, we hope to do about 45,000 ounces. Next year, we'll hope to do 55,000 ounces. And then after that, we'll plateau at about 60. And that'll be a plant capacity. After that, we're reliant on exploration success, but I'll come on to that and I think how we can go further. But the difference from 40 to 60,000 ounces in terms of bottom line cash generation is enormous. And then when you factor in a margin of, let's say, $200-300 an ounce, which we had 82 years ago, to like hundreds of dollars an ounce, which we've now got, the cash generation is enormous. We opened the year with about $22 million in the bank. I think by the end of this year, we will end the year with well into the 40s, approaching $50 million in the bank. We've talked about shareholder returns to shareholders, which, all being well, we're going to be able to do something about that. We are funded. We've funded all of it. We're funding the growth of Coringa entirely out of cash generation. We're funding a very aggressive $10 million brownfield exploration program at Coringa and at Palito, about $10 million in 2025 and in 2026. Everything's been done out of cash flow. We've got no debt. We're doing everything out of our cash flow, and we're still generating a ton of cash. great news for our existing shareholders. Maintain quality, don't chase quality. It's all about, so many companies have made this mistake of chasing scale, chasing scale. We chase margin, we chase quality. Quality counts, tons cost, grade pays. I say it all the time. It's all about not losing that focus. And all our business has always been about maximizing grade and maximizing margin. And while the gold price is like this, that's where the money comes from. We're not just going to use this gold price to chuck all kinds of rubbish in and just chase scale. It's astonishing how much money you make. You keep the grade high, and the gold price is like this. It's funny how so many companies kind of think as soon as the gold price goes up, they throw the kitchen sink at the process plant because everything becomes economic. But you kill your margin. So we are all about maintaining quality, and again, it's back to my geology. It's back to my I try to sort of pass that enthusiasm on to everybody. It's all about high grade. We're high grade. We're high grade. Our plant's high grade. We're high grade. We are underground, high grade. That's what it's all about.